If you're wondering what the deal is with floor beds, are they even Montessori? What are the pros and cons? I'm going to be answering all of the FAQs today. Tips for transitioning, safety things to be aware of, and so much more. This is going to be part one. In the next video, I'll talk about my favorite floor bed frames as well as how to choose the one that makes the most sense for your family. So definitely hit that subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss that video. And if you guys are new here, my name's Rachel from The Confused Mom. Welcome to my channel. I share baby and toddler product reviews, activities, as well as Montessori at home tips. And I'm a mom to a 2-year-old and 4-year-old. Let's jump into the basics with what the heck is a Montessori floor bed to begin with. It's exactly what it sounds like, a bed on the floor. Ta-da! In terms of the Montessori component of it, Dr. Maria Montessori, who's the founder of the Montessori method, did not create the idea of floor beds. People have been sleeping on the floor for eons, so she is not the originator of this, but she is definitely one of the people that popularized it in Western culture and was a huge proponent of it, as a lot of the concepts of a floor bed aligned with her pedagogy. Montessori believed that providing a floor bed was a critical part of creating a prepared environment that fostered independence, freedom of movement, and autonomy for children, including infants and toddlers. While floor beds are commonly associated with Montessori, they are not exclusive to it, and many families that do not follow Montessori do have floor beds in their home, largely due to safety or cultural preferences. In terms of the purpose of a Montessori floor bed, to build on what I already said, obviously the developmental appropriateness of it for little kids, because the fall risk is so much lower than a traditional bed and they can get in and out of it independently. In modern terms, for American parents, they have become a huge win, largely because a lot of families have adopted those wake to rise clocks that turn green when it's time for the kid to come out of their room. And so by having the bed on the floor, a child that wakes up before it's time to get up can go ahead and explore their room, play with their toys, and it buys parents some extra time in the morning. That is like typically the most marketed and popularized reason for it. Kind of in that same vein, though I hear far fewer stories with it, is that it also gives children the opportunity to practice more body autonomy, which basically means that if they feel tired, they can crawl into bed themselves and put themselves to sleep, which obviously saves parents a ton of time in an exhaustive bedtime routine. I don't typically see that one or hear that one as often from parents. In terms of the best mattresses for a floor bed, you want something that's breathable and non-toxic ideally, because we spend so much of our lives on our beds. It's definitely one of those areas that I do recommend opting for a cleaner option. Number one, the Newton bed is definitely going to be the most breathable option. You can literally like put your face up against it and you can still breathe through it. The other nice thing about that is the entire bed is fully waterproof, so it's definitely helpful when it comes time to potty train. There's a water resistant liner on the outside, but then the mattress itself is made from like a unique polymer that does not retain mold or moisture or anything like that, so that's a really nice option. In terms of the most non-toxic, there's a few different price points, but I do like the brands Naturepedic, Sattva, and Nest bedding, so that's most expensive to least expensive. And a little hack you can do if you don't want to get a full mattress, you can actually just buy a mattress topper. So like Sattva has like a 5-inch thick mattress topper, and that's literally what my daughter's sleeping on up there. That also leads me to the next thing to look at when choosing a mattress for a floor bed, which is the height of the mattress. So the nice thing about doing a little 5-inch just mattress topper is it is obviously lower to the ground. You want to avoid anything really over 7 or 8 inches. When kids are on the younger end, the general rule of thumb is the lower the profile, the better. In terms of the benefits of a Montessori floor bed, I've already talked about the main ones throughout this, so instead we're going to do a rapid fire of the pros and then the cons of them. So Montessori floor beds eliminate the risk of falls from elevated bed surfaces, making them much more safe. They give kids the freedom to explore their surroundings, leading to further cognitive development. They can also increase the child's self-esteem and responsibility in terms of setting up their own sleep routines and caring for their space. I found this to be particularly true when potty training. So one of the big reasons we moved my daughter out of a crib and into a floor bed, she kept pulling her diaper off in the morning if we didn't get to her fast enough, and then would have an accident in her crib, whereas putting her in the floor bed gave her the opportunity to use the bathroom freely. Lastly, they can give parents some extra time in the morning as children can explore their room freely. Doesn't always work for everybody, so just throwing that out there. In terms of the cons of a Montessori floor bed, obviously you're closer to the floor, which means increased exposure to allergens, dust mites, all of that type of stuff. On top of that, mattresses need aeration. They need some airflow underneath to release the heat and humidity our bodies give off while we're sleeping. If the bed is directly on the floor, it means that more humidity could get trapped. It could lead to mold growth and other unwanted microbial growths and things. Another big concern is that the entire room really needs to be toddler and baby proof to ensure there is no safety hazard. So things are secured to the wall, there's no tip hazards, outlets are covered up and secured, any cords from drapes and things like that are tucked up, any monitors or things that you have cords on are all secured away. Essentially, you're trying to turn their bedroom into a giant crib that is safe for them. So while the bed itself could be safer, the room itself could pose a much more dangerous risk. The other component of safety I want to bring up is the bed placement. For younger babies, you're really going to want to have that bed kind of in the center of the room, unobstructed by anything, a clearance that is bigger than their height. So if they are rolling out, they can't hit anything. And then the last kind of component of this, which piggybacks off of that, there's nothing necessarily keeping your child in their room. So you may not just need to baby-proof their room, but you may have to do the entire house, including the front door, if your child decides to leave the room and explore, or you may have to put a baby gate on the outside of their door to keep them retained in the bedroom. If you do the baby gate thing, then the transition to a floor bed should definitely happen younger rather than older, is what I will say about that, because if they are already very much aware that they previously had the opportunity to go in and out of their room and now all of a sudden there's a baby gate there, it can lead to some struggles, let's say that. Which I guess leads me to when to start the floor bed. So there's basically two camps here. A lot of families do it around 4, 5, 6 months old instead of a crib, and other families wait between 12 to 24 months old. And there's pros and cons to both of them. So the 4 to 6 month old camp is personally what I would recommend doing, even though I did not do that with either of my kids. This is about the time that your child is learning to roll over, but they're not overly mobile. So it gives you this really sweet opportunity where they're only gonna have access to so much stuff in their room. It's not like they can stand up and open their bedroom door yet. At this age, they're definitely gonna end up rolling out of their bed more frequently. So you may wanna have a bed that has more rails than less and just kind of like a small opening for them to get in and out of. If you do opt for no rails or minimal rails, you may wanna place the bed in the center of the room. Now, another one of the pros of doing this at 4 to 6 months is you don't have to buy a crib. You can go straight from the bassinet to the floor bed, and it is a nice little cost saver. On the other hand, a lot of families wait until around 1 year old, just because they feel like the baby is too small to do that before their first birthday. Typically at this stage, kids can obviously roll over, they can crawl, some can even pull themselves up to stand, or are even taking their first few steps. So there's definitely a lot more mobility happening, where you do want to play that tape a little bit more forward in terms of anything they could pull themselves up onto, if they can open up their door and try to leave the room. If you're doing this transition around 12 months old, I would definitely put that baby gate on the outside of the door from the get-go. If you're doing this closer to 2 years old, it might be too late already. It's easier to take the baby gate down than it is to not have one and then put it up. If you are doing the transition after their first birthday, I do suggest involving the child in the process, have them pick out the sheets and the bedding, and doing it slowly. So if they were in a crib, remove the feet of the crib and then remove one side of the bars of the crib and slowly move them out of it instead of just kind of like shocking them with a ton of freedom, unless your child does really well with cold turkey transitions, and then just go for it. The big downside with doing a transition in the 12 to 24 month range is they are much more interested in their surroundings, meaning that they typically already have a lot of broken sleep as they're conquering new gross motor milestones at this age, and giving them that much more freedom can lead to that much more struggle in sleep. We attempted the transition with my son between 12 and 18 months old, and it pretty much failed. He was a play fiend, knowing that his big sister was out in the house playing. He would literally go into his light sleep at that 40-minute kind of mark and just be like, okay, I'm done. I want to go see what the world is doing. He did have an easier time in the floor bed in a shared room with my daughter because he could see she was sleeping and that he wasn't missing out on what she was doing. And we found more success with it when he was about 22 months old, but my son still is very much a 4 to 5 a.m. wake up. That is why he bed shares with us, so that he does not wake his sister up. Really, the best time to do the transition is both when you and your child are ready, because they're gonna have a say and have an opinion. Drop me a comment below if there are any questions I missed for you guys, as well as how your experience has been in a Montessori floor bed, with other tips for parents to help each other out. If you like this video, make sure to like it, share it with a friend. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss the next video where I share our favorite floor bed frames and how to choose the best one specifically for your family. In the meantime, be sure to go back, check out my tips for setting up a Montessori bedroom. As always, my name is Rachel. Have a good one.